So now we'll move on to the questions. So can I ask our presenters to turn your cameras on, please? And we'll unmute you as the questions get asked. So I'm looking at what we've got here. First one for Jenny. I note your comment that face-to-face learning is the gold standard for communications training, and it makes sense to set the bar high for this proof of concept product. To make it more accessible over time, a complementary virtual product might be better than no training. Will this be considered as part of sustainability for the project?
Thank you, and that's a great question. We thought long and hard about virtual. I guess that because we really saw this as a workplace-based educational intervention, we really felt that we'd lose a lot by going virtual. I note that some other people providing communication skills training are providing virtual platforms, but I think you'd lose quite a lot in what we were trying to do in bringing advanced cancer registrars together with our facilitators. So I guess that it's not only in wanting to keep it evidence-based and we want to try and attain the gold standard, but it's also would take away from it being a workplace-based intervention where we deliver education and training on site to registrars in a way that we found in our pilot work has been really acceptable and really well taken up.
Thank you, Jenny. Next one for Travis. How do you go about engaging people from cold communities to get their input into the translated resources through the hospital or community groups or anywhere else?
So as part of a previous project, the Road to Recovery resource, which we developed into the audio content, had already been developed with a lot of consumer input as it was. So we didn't replicate that. However, with the How to Prepare for Checkups document, we developed that with multiple rounds of feedback from the translation company who the different translators provided feedback on cultural appropriateness and back translated so that the English version wasn't just simply replicated in the translated language. There was some alterations made to those to make sure it made sense and it was culturally appropriate as well. We had some engagement with some different organisations as well, such as the Centre of Culture, Ethnicity and Health for some feedback and some guidance, as well as some community support groups as well, such as the Chinese Cancer Society, who more helped with dissemination of the resources rather than the feedback process.
Thanks, Travis. I think the Centre for Ethnicity and Culture in Health, they'd be a great starting point for anyone looking to work with.
Absolutely, they were fantastic.
Yeah. I think we got kind of two questions along the same theme here for Stacey. Could current CIRCs, which is Symptom Urgent Review Clinics, be utilised to provide non-ED urgent review service like you mentioned in your recommendations? May not have the right staff type, mostly chemo expertise, but the principle's essentially the same. And then we've got a comment about that, that Western Health has run a smart clinic for many years, which provides a multidisciplinary outpatient symptom support clinic. This could be spread to other settings. So it sounds like that's almost been answered. I think SMART is Symptom Management, Assessment and Review Team, something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. I think absolutely there are health services that do to some extent have these sorts of clinics, and I think that availability for urgent review, particularly for advanced cancer patients and those with palliative care needs in particular, I think there's probably staff types, like the audience member has pointed out, is key. Certainly slightly more unique guidelines around care for the types of urgent symptoms that patients might be coming in with outside the space of chemo, and that are perhaps a little more unique to the advanced disease state. And I think a structured, systematic approach would enable patients and carers to have ready access that might be very helpful, and perhaps re-looking at things, and if there's availability across 5 days, perhaps where clinics exist at the moment, is there potential for 7 days a week, and whether we can work hours that might be a little different for patient needs.
Yeah, it's the out of hours stuff that is the tricky thing, isn't it? But in the study, we do know what time people were presenting, so we could definitely build on that data and maybe look into that further. One for Alison here. Is Alison there? Yeah. Will there be any consumer input into the design of the website?
Yes, that's a good question. Obviously, in the COVID days, our protocol changed somewhat. So initially, when we had presented this application, we were going to do the focus groups up front and develop the website with their input. And then once we've got the website, then apply it and pilot it. And then when COVID hit right at the beginning, that got turned around. So we landed up developing what we thought was good clinical management and psychological support with input from the consumer advocacy groups, etc., and a small group of consumers, with the plan which we're currently at, which is developing the prototype of the website. And then the focus groups will be doing on optimizing the prototype. So consumers are now going to be towards optimization as opposed to the actual initial design. And that was just purely a COVID telehealth issue. We wanted to engage as many consumers as we could. And we find that when we've done focus groups using, say, Zoom, we're limited to just 2 or 3. They can be quite difficult sometimes. But it is a very important feature.
Thanks, Alison. Question for Michael Harold, other Michael. You mentioned you had to move to Redcap instead of the Accord system. What was the issue there?
Okay, thanks for that question. So it wasn't a matter of just modifying Accord to build the care plan. It was, but basically Accord needed a full redevelopment. So we did have some early meetings with BioGrid, our software developer partner, and we realised fairly early on that it was going to be a major project in itself, and that so to enable us to deliver the care plan, we really need to come up with an alternative option, and we also use Redcap for some of our trials and registries, and so yeah, we went to that option, and it's proved to be a terrific alternative tool. So it's worked really quite well, and I think I'm not sure if people are familiar with it, but it's terrific in not only being able to build a database, but also build surveys in as well. So of course that was an important part of the project to deliver surveys. So yes, it's and I guess the other thing is that, and I think I did mention it in the presentation, that just being able to, because it's a feasibility study, just being able to iron out a lot of the issues and bugs along the way. When we do eventually redevelop Accord and include the care plan in the redevelopment, that we'll have sorted out a lot of those things along the way already. So
yeah, Redcap allows you to kind of make changes pretty easily, and it's all
yes,
friendly. So
yes, exactly.
I would recommend going to your Redcap nominated person at your health service if you looking to start up a new database or something. It's free, and yeah, it's a very powerful tool. One for Justin here. It's a shame to hear that patients felt too unwell to complete the PROMs. Would one of the benefits of the PROMs be to identify and help manage symptoms and issues in real time, or is PROMs data only used retrospectively in an aggregated way?
Thanks, Michael. Fantastic question. I think we're still not sure what absolute values or thresholds actually mean for an individual patient, but looking at trends with time is very important. And that's where the EPROMs were piloting with Western Health, what we're trying to do, we actually have a dashboard available to clinicians to actually review those results. And the aim is to get those patients to do an electronic prompts just prior to their clinic appointment. And then the clinician then can talk about this is how things are tracking. So that's a really long-term goal, but yeah, very exciting stuff.
Can I just add to and say that the rate of non-completion of the prompts was actually very, very low.
Thanks, Ali. Yeah.
We've had great completion and remaining through to the end time points of the study too.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great, thank you. Thanks, Sally. One for Kate. What do you think the split between telehealth and face-to-face will be in the post-COVID world?
Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good question. So as we've been seeing restrictions lifting, most of the health services are finding that video telehealth is kind of dropping off a little bit and face-to-face is ramping up again. They're mostly, no one really wants to lose the gains that they've made during this time. So they're expecting and kind of aiming towards a 20 to 25% through video and the rest face-to-face. But yeah, there is quite a lot of enthusiasm to make sure that it continues on. Thanks.
And I guess who knows what the next pandemic will be. At least we know we can do it in the future. One for Tara. Will WCMICS continue to facilitate the head and neck support group, or will this be passed on to the peer facilitators once they can take that on?
Thanks, Michael. Yes, so WCMICS will continue to support the group moving forward, but through the process of establishing the group, we've actually been really lucky to find enthusiastic leaders to take on the group moving forward. The great thing is they're just as passionate as I am about peer support for people affected by head and neck cancer, but also our partnerships will help with the group sustainability. I do still see support going forward on an ongoing basis, particularly for when the group resumes face-to-face sessions at some point in the future, which is obviously yet to be determined for 2021.
Thanks, Tara. One more for Jenny, or kind of two more here combined. How big do you think the target group for the training is? Do you think more experienced staff could also benefit from the training, not just registrars? Will you need more faculty members to meet demand? And then a sub-question to that is the training for nursing staff as well?
So the target group for this training was really only the advanced cancer medicine registrars, and the rationale for that was that it's workplace-based training, and that this is a group that we've previously provided this model of training to in a pilot. I think we all need communication skills training. I think we all need access to opportunities to experientially practice and learn our skills in a safe environment. And I absolutely think more experienced clinicians need further opportunities for skill acquisition, but we also need it for maintenance. The literature is actually quite clear that there is no ceiling of achievement and that we should all be having communication skills training. And absolutely nursing staff should be having communication skills training, though that wasn't within the scope of this particular project. It's something that I have worked on and would love to work on in the future. I've also been involved in trying to run communication skills workshops for more experienced doctors, and we've had a lot of challenges recruiting to those. Everybody thinks it's a great idea for everybody else to do it, but to actually get them to set aside the time and put themselves into the position of a learner has been quite confronting and would be a fabulous project for another time. In terms of the numbers of our target group, we did some scoping across the Peter Mac, Royal Melbourne and St Vincent sites, and have enough facilitators to be able to train cancer medicine registrars in the current faculty that we've developed. And part of the sustainability of the project has been coming up with pathways and practices to develop more of a faculty. There are lots of people who are interested in communication skills training, It's just been that we haven't had the opportunities that the WCMICS funding has given us to actually put it into practice with organisational support and resourcing. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. A couple here for Dilu. So a comment from Shannon. So good to see Marg. She looks so well. Wonderful catch-up video, Dilu. So that's a nice comment. And the question is, have you had any feedback on the videos from patients or clinicians who've used them?
Thank you for the question. So both clinician and patient feedback has been positive. Many patients have provided feedback saying that they wish they had known about the videos months ago. They also have said that the videos have helped put things into perspective. Clinicians have said also that the videos have been a useful tool. They've been using the videos as an educational tool in two ways. In the first instance, they include the videos with the information package sent to newly diagnosed patients. And secondly, if patients have either nutritional, exercise, or psychological issues, then the videos are sent to these patients to give them a positive message, as well as to provide the motivation if patients feel lack of motivation. So it's really great to hear that it's been used as a tool, really.
Fantastic, thanks, Dilu. Is one about Michael's question, Michael's presentation. I'm not sure he'll know the answer. So how does Michael's care plan work align with the My Cancer Diagnosis Explained work? So I'll help you out there, Michael.
Might be right.
So that's a piece of work that is a statewide kind of OCP work, a bit of work that is a resource for patients that's an individualized diagnosis information sheet that WCMICS worked on with the other ICS, and that is available for colorectal cancer. So the difference there is that that really focuses on diagnosis, whereas the WeHi Michael's project is about post-surgical chemo treatment planning and that kind of information at that point. So the My Cancer Diagnosis Explained tool did build in a bit of that at the start. We did look at putting in the treatment plan as well, but we found that was just too much information at one point in time. So this the current project kind of fills in that gap after the diagnosis information and into that treatment and follow-up phase. So I hope I've answered that okay, Michael. Give me a nod. Good. Okay, I think that's all our questions answered. Thank you so much to all our presenters. I know it's very daunting to see yourself on camera and listen to your own voice and all that. So a huge thank you for the videos and coming to our Q&A session as well. So now I'll hand over to Kath Quaid, WCMICS manager, for a few closing remarks.
Thank you, Michael. I do have the pleasure of wrapping up today's proceedings, but I'll keep it brief. I would like to extend sincere thanks and a virtual round of applause to our esteemed presenters for being very generous with their time and contributions. Many thanks to the WCMICS team, to our consumers and clinical colleagues, and to all of our audience members joining us here today. Just to note that all presentations and full Q&A will be available on the WCMICS website and our YouTube channel. Finally, the WCMICS annual report is now available via the WCMICS website, and there's a link posted in the chat so you can check it out. It's been quite the year, and it's fair to say that we're all very much looking forward to the year ahead and continuing to work with you all. Have a great afternoon, and here's to 2021. So thank you.